Hello, everyone. This is Keith Stone with the Center for Atlantic Studies. I'm here with Greg and Elen and Sarah for a HeroesX office hour, focusing on hours 20 and 21 of the ancient Greek hero in 24 hours, which means Hippolytus and the Bacchae of Euripides, one of my favorite sections of the book. Let's see. Our two questions. The wandering mind of Phaedra is wandering into forbidden places, as she is warned by the nurse, who is her most trusted confidant. But should these places really be forbidden for the young queen? That's the hour 20 question, and hour 21 is, does Pentheus deserve Kleos?
I shouldn't be nodding, but obviously I think he does. But let's see what our participants think.
Let's go to the hour 20 question first, because we have some responses to that one. We have one person here who's saying that I think these places should be forbidden for the young queen, because the queen should be a moral exemplar, more or less, if I'm reading this correctly, an example of purity.
Mm-hmm.
I think the participant says that since queen and king are the body politic, Yes. So what about if the if Phaedra is going to participate in activities that are for young men? So
yes.
Mm-hmm. And another person has basically the same thing, I think, but says it's okay though for Artemis to do these things, she adds, or he adds.
That's the rub. And let me just dive right in. With reference to Artemis, think of the fact that Artemis, although she's female, is the divinity that presides over the male activity of hunting. And she fits, her whole divine personality suits that particular activity just as much as her personality suits various things that happen in the world of women, such as menstruation, childbirth. I'll stick to those two, menstruation and childbirth, but not having sex. So there's A, B, C. A, menstruation, C, childbirth, but not B, sex. That's Aphrodite's territory. I'm saying this because Phaedra herself, in one of her reveries where her mind is wandering, is actually imagining herself as Artemis. And I will conjure the moment. Do you remember how she is thinking of herself as having her hair come undone? So her blonde hair is cascading down her head. And then there's this breeze that is blowing her hair back, and it's a painterly vision. And the painterly vision has her throwing a javelin like this, a hunting javelin, at a stag. And because Euripides is Euripides, and he's so clever in combining verbal and visual art, the words in the tragedy actually replicate what you would see in a painting, where Artemis is seen in the act of throwing a javelin, and in a sense her hair is the backdrop. So I guess we have to imagine it like
I've always imagined her facing that way.
I am now, because of my problems with left and right, slightly stymied about which way she's facing, but the hair should be in the background, I think, and the javelin should be in the foreground. So I guess it would be like this.
Okay.
Is that okay?
So she's facing the viewer, maybe.
Well,
and the spear is
profile.
Okay, so it's not confrontational.
Profile.
Yeah, Sarah was doing a good impression just a second ago.
Let's see what Sarah did. Can you do it again? Yes. That's
it. She has the hair for it. I don't.
Yes, you've got it. That's it. And so what you have there is a beautiful cameo picture of Artemis in her wandering mind, in the imagination of the wandering mind. And as we've already seen in the Heroes program, hi Janet, as we've already seen in the Heroes program from previous readings, a hero will have a divine antagonist, and certainly I would say for Phaedra, the divine antagonist in terms of somebody who's very much like her is Artemis. And the only thing that really messes everything up, of course, is the fact that Aphrodite is offended by what's going on. This is dysfunctional myth. But the actual modeling of Phaedra gravitates toward Artemis, not Aphrodite. Phaedra looks like Artemis. Please.
But Greg, could I just ask you there? You say, as you said, her mind is wandering, and she's sort of going from this to that to the other.
Yes.
And to get to that state, she's imagining her headdress coming down. But that is sort of almost like a lament.
Yes. Image. Yes, a lament, love song. Because remember, for me, lament can always modulate into love song, just as you can have it the other way around. And my fingers aren't doing this right, but you understand that it can be a flip, either lament to love song or love song to lament. Absolutely.
And then she also talks about wanting to drink from a spring and lie in a meadow. And
I love that.
That conjures up young girls going out to pick blossoms and ready to be swept off their feet.
Oh,
so
it's
again,
beautiful.
That's sort of more like Aphrodite, isn't it?
Well, let's do it slightly differently. I take your point, but let's think of the initial reverie of Hippolytus. Do you remember how Hippolytus is praying to Artemis, but the words he uses, because again, it's so dysfunctional, he is erotically attracted to Artemis instead of Aphrodite.
Big no-no.
and using words that would fit Aphrodite, not Artemis. So it's messy for both Hippolytus and Phaedra. They both have this problem of, in opera, you'd say, I'm confused, but the music would say it's fusion. It's everything coming together. and so I love the instincts of our participant who said, wait a minute, this has something to do with Artemis. And I say, yes. But in a sense, in this whole tragedy, whenever you even think of Artemis, you think of the beauty and the attractiveness of Artemis as well. But oops, then there should be some kind of blocking, blocking because of the, how shall I say it, myth, ritual fact. I almost said religion. The myth, ritual fact that Artemis and Aphrodite are complementary in the life of a normal woman. By normal, I mean somebody who's living in the historical period, who is engaging in the myths and rituals of Phaedra and Hippolytus. It's normal for a woman in reality to have both Artemis experiences, A and C, and Aphrodite experiences, B. But the ABCs that work for real women or girls transitioning to be women don't work for our wonderfully attractive, messed up heroes of Phaedra and Hippolytus.
And being timely.
Yes.
Now people are not being timely here, both Hippolytus and Phaedra.
Exactly. They get their schedules all wrong, and they're having their reveries in a way that would work for normal people but don't work for heroes. It's amazing. I just love the myth ritual subtext of this tragedy, the way it plays out. I love the sensitivity of Euripides in picking up on the psychology there. I think I used the word for the first time in our conversations, the psychology of human development going from adolescence to adulthood. It's all there. And I want to pay a compliment to our colleague Keith, that Keith so loves this play. And I'm not going to psychologize you, Keith. Hey, I know less about you than you think, but I so admire that the second time you went to Greece, and I know this because I got this out of you in interview style on another occasion. What did you do? You rented a car and you drove all the way from northern Greece to the place where this is all happening in the myth.
Mm-hmm. In Troezen.
In Troezen. It's amazing.
Yeah, very small village.
Mike,
Anyway, another time I can tell that story.
But it has beautiful meadows, doesn't it, Keith?
Beautiful meadows, orchards, lemon orchards at the moment.
Oh, God.
And from the sacred precincts, the ruins of the sacred precinct, you can see the beach far off in the distance where Hippolytus had his crash.
Oh, my God. Wow.
Yeah.
And I hope you all liked my leading question, the wording in my leading question, which talked about the wandering mind of Phaedra, was deliberately evoking the how shall I call it, the urban myth or the rural myth about the wandering uterus, which of course starts with the ancient world and is all over the place. It's not something that you find only in Greek mythology. And you find it in Freud as well, in a kind of pseudoscientific way. When Freud talks about hysteria, hysteria comes from, of course, the Greek word meaning womb, uterus. And so I thought, wouldn't it be clever to confront our participants with a question that doesn't talk about the wandering uterus of Phaedra, which is what you actually see in the envisioned in the first choral passage of the Phaedra. No, I talked about the wandering mind because, of course, it's also psychological and mental, and Phaedra's mind does wander to the hunting grounds, a beautiful meadow where hunters hunt, and sure, that's reserved for men only in everyday life of myth and ritual. But in myth, of course, Artemis does it, and so, who are you modeling yourself on? Is it? I remember a horrible teenage movie when I was young called "Where the Boys Are." So, in an everyday world, if a girl's mind wanders and wants to be where the boys are, then you start worrying about the sociology of division of tasks between men and women, boys and girls. But in myth, let me go back to this, it's all fused. There's fusion, and then the heroes, the larger-than-life heroes who undergo this fusion are confused. Both Hippolytus and Phaedra.
Yeah, so it's interesting to see that in the chorus,
Yes.
you have young boys and young girls.
Yes.
Who participate in the ritual.
Yes. Elaine, I'm so glad you mentioned that after all, this is happening in Athens, if you want to imagine the premiere of this tragedy. And the performers in the chorus are in real life male debutantes, can I say it that way? Young boys who will become the citizens of Athens. And they are representing, or as I'd like to say, reenacting, to give it that ritual spice. They're reenacting what not only young girls are feeling vicariously about Phaedra. No, it's even better. It's the whole range of women. And this goes back to what Sarah made that beautiful remark about lament. And remember how I said that, oh, well, lament goes to love song and love song goes back to lament. And in a sense, you see it in that first choral passage where boys are reenacting girls who are gossiping about the queen, but at the same time, what the emotions and even, how shall I say it, the psychology of the moment is saying that the female voice there is not just a girl's voice, it's also a woman's voice, because even the veiled reference to menstruation, which according to my late friend Nicole Laurent, is the only time in high classical literature that menstruation is mentioned anywhere, and that includes the fact that even comedy doesn't ever refer to menstruation as a classical art. You see discussions of menstruation, PMS, and all that only in gynecological treatises written by doctors. But in literature, you don't talk about it. But Euripides does, or should I say, Euripides is channeling the boys and the Athenian chorus, who are channeling the girls who are going to be initiated, who are then channeling the experiences of women from infancy to old age. It's an amazing coming together of really everything we've been worried about, everything worried in a good way, as we confront what is a hero and how does the hero, male or female, fit into the ritual and mythological sensibilities of the present.
And we don't have any responses for 21 yet. The question about whether Pentheus deserves Kleos, but maybe we could just say that this the question about Phaedra wandering into forbidden places, and this thought that Phaedra ought to be, this thought mentioned by our participants, that Phaedra ought to be a moral exemplar for the city. And she's not. Maybe we could say that that relates to whether Pentheus deserves Kleos. To what extent does any hero deserve Kleos? And what form?
Well, they don't deserve it for being a model for how a king or a queen should behave, because they mess up. They mess up in terms of the moral standards of the society that preserves the myths and rituals. So I would go back to my formulation that you have dysfunctionality in myth and then functionalism in myth and ritual, which is in the present.
Greg, I have a question relating to Kleos, which I know is based on a word that has to do with hearing, and your definition in the core vocab is glory, fame, especially conferred by poetry or song, that which is heard.
Yes.
But you were talking earlier about how Euripides gives us a very visual sort of image, and that's true in this play as well. And we know also there are vase paintings of the Pentheus story. So can Kleos ever be, as it were, conferred visually, or does it have to be heard?
Oh, very nice. I would say that when Kleos enters the medium of theater, it has to be visualized. It just has to be. I mean, think of the fact, and I'm so glad you brought this up, dear Sarah, that the word theater, if you trace it back to the original Greek, theatron, means the instrument for seeing, because the thea of theatron is seeing, visualizing. The tron is the suffix that conveys the idea of instrument, the instrument that is being used for a purpose. So there you go. Theater has to be visualization. And the fact that most of the really decisive actions that happen in theater are always off stage. You don't see any act of violence in tragedy, but people go inside and do the violent things there. And you're supposed to imagine it just the way Cassandra imagines what will happen to her when she goes inside in the Agamemnon of Aeschylus. That's my favorite moment of impending visualization. Yeah.
And you so often get a messenger or somebody coming on,
yes, exactly,
and telling us, the participant audience, what has been happening. So you do have to hear it as well.
Well, of course, but as you say, the verbal art enhances the visual dimension of the human mind and the need to visualize, whether you see it in real life or you don't. It's a cumulative thing. Absolutely, it's definitely both. But going back to Kleos and the Bacchae, could I just say, after all, it's Dionysus himself, the god of theater, who is the divine antagonist of Pentheus and who is the cause of Pentheus's dismemberment, who says, well, you're going to get Kleos for this. And okay, you have to believe him. It's the god of theater, the god of the visual arts, who's saying this.
If we go back to one other visual item in our conversation, you were describing, Greg, this description of Phaedra.
Yes.
With her waving blonde hair and
yes,
the spear in her.
I just love it. It's like a painting.
As a painterly vision. I'm thinking, can blonde hair be depicted in a vase painting? I don't think that seems natural to me. So what kind of painting or visual depiction are we thinking? Is there color painting? I mean, a mosaic of gold cubes that would depict blonde hair.
I love that. Listen,
I'm trying to visualize even more.
Can we have a rain check on that? That is such a good question. And it shows you that I'm not depending on visual arts here. I'm depending on the verbal art, visualizing blonde hair. It's very clear that in the verbal art, it's definitely blondness. And as you know, you're the editor that published this, where I talk about this Egyptian queen from a very early phase of Egyptian history who has blonde hair and who is represented as having blonde hair. The visual arts can do it, but I'm right now stymied. I have to go back to the drawing board and maybe get people who are art historians out there to help us figure out whether blondness in 5th century vase painting, and I know that's what you're referring to, whether, and if so, how it is represented.
So I saw that Sarah in a chat message suggested sculpture, perhaps.
Oh, in sculpture,
as
definitely.
a medium.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. of course, if you go to that next to top floor, just before the top floor of the Acropolis Museum, and you see all these gorgeous statues of Korai, they all have blonde hair. Thank you.
And people would have known, because it's in the verbal arts.
Yeah.
Would have known. So even if you're representing on vase painting in 2 or 3 colors, you would still know. You'd be able to fill in the blanks, as it were, wouldn't you?
Yes. Wow. So I think we want to revisit this beautiful question. That is so powerful, and I think it could lead to all sorts of good meditations on how visual art may convey things or may not convey things.
Great. Maybe that's a good place to wrap up for this week.
Perfect.
Great. Thanks to you all. Good to see you, and see you in a week for hours 22 and 23 now.
That's right. It'll be Plato time.
Yeah. Okay. Bye for now.